Okay, so I wanted to show you guys the basically the finished product. I'm just buttoning it up now, but I wanted to talk a little bit about a few things. One, when you're putting the temperature sensor on, I forgot to mention this. It goes around the cylinder head and then it just pulls. I've seen some guys putting it all the way down at the bottom of the head, some guys putting it in the middle. There hasn't been a lot of clarification of where that is supposed to be. I'm going to tell you just from experience from being a mechanic for over 20 years. When you check the temperature, you want to check it at the center of the cylinder. You don't want to check it at the bottom. You don't want to check it at the top. Center of the cylinder. I did it because usually when I take a heat gun and I check temperature, I check it about the center of the heat sink to get my true temperature. So I set my temperature gauge right at the center. I routed the wires. Another thing people don't talk a whole lot about is where do they route the wires. So the wires are routed right along, right in front of the right in front of the shocks, and they just go around here. And as you can see the wires right there. And actually, the heat wire and the RPM gauge, they all fit right in here, no problem. And then everything was set up. Now, we talked about this voltmeter wire from the temperature gauge. Right, temperature. Yeah, temperature volt. Okay, so anyway, on the nitro engine, some people were just saying to plug it into the receiver, and I kind of didn't agree with that because I want true battery voltage. I talked a little bit earlier about how I took my old on-off switch and I removed the center wire, and that gave me this wire. So I wanted to show you guys what I did. Typically on an electronic vehicle, they hook it directly to the battery. The thing is that they always tell you to disconnect the battery when it's not running because the ESC can still drain the battery. Well, I was a little concerned about if I hooked it directly to the middle where the wire, that's actually where the battery comes in, is to the middle of the switch. And so if I hooked my voltmeter directly to the middle of the switch so that it worked all the time, these nitro engines, we tend to leave the batteries plugged in all the time because they're in a sealed container, and so we never unplug the battery. We just plug in our little charger up here. When we're ready to use it, we charge them. So the battery's always plugged in. So in that case, I don't really want to plug it to the voltage. I want to plug it to the side when the switch is on. So remember that this side over here, the black plug, is the charging plug. So when the plug is off, it's going to have power at the charging plug. So if I put it on that side, it's not going to read when the car is on. So I want to put it on this side when the vehicle's on, this plug that goes to the receiver. So what I did was I took the soldering point off right here, and I took the little wire that I had soldered here in the middle off of this switch. Again, I'm not, I used the one off of this switch. So anyway, I took that wire and I soldered it with this positive wire right here, and I just ran it right out of the box. So I'm going to show you guys somewhat of what I did here. You'll see that I have my battery plug right here and my receiver plug right here. So these are the two plugs for my normal battery to plug into and my receiver coming off the switch here. Okay, and they're both running down off the front here. And then in the back, you're going to have your one wire down there that plugs into your charging port. And then you have an empty spot that I actually ran my other wire here, which is going to run to my voltmeter. And as you can see, it's just a one plug, and it's going to plug right into here. And now when the car is on, I will have true battery voltage. So I'm pretty excited about that. And that's how I did it. Now these wires, they run down here. You just push them down like that. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. I just push it down, and then you want to run this little box right over the top, and that's it. And now my wire will reach and fit. My other wire is going to go into my receiver, and this battery will plug down. And that's how I did that. So again, all my wires routed, no problem. Right here on the side, everything came in. I didn't have to cut anything. I just routed the wires there. And as you can see, it turns there. I'm not in any fear of hitting the spur gear. and then the wires ran. And there's my little temperature gauge wire, and my wires down below. The white wire that you're seeing there, that's the wire that's going to my pickup for my flywheel. So anyway, make sure you put your temperature gauge wire, your temperature sensor, on your head before you put your glow plug back on. I learned that because I wasn't paying attention, and it has to go on first. So alright, cool. Hope that helps you guys out, and hopefully I'll be doing a test pretty soon using my telemetry. Okay, so my car's not running right now. Just sitting here in the house. Everything's done wired up. And I got my setup setting here, and you can look at the voltmeter. It's reading true battery voltage 6.6. I'll show you now that everything's put away neatly. I don't know if you guys have seen these. Some of you guys may have or may not have. That's a glitch buster. I actually made it. Fits in here pretty nicely. It's just a 3300. The little voltage wire plugs in right here, and it runs over to the side here, and I actually have it plugged in right underneath my glitch buster. It's just sitting right here in the edge, and then it just runs underneath, and it's hooked into the switch like I showed you earlier. My receiver power is plugged there, and it just runs straight down underneath all these wires, and it's just tangled in there. As you can see, all my wires fit in here with no issues. My glitch buster fits in here with no issues, and I'm able to fit everything in here. So anyway, I'm gonna go out and fire this thing up and see how the RPM work. Alright, we got it running. I've got the gauges all set up, and let's see here. As you can see, it's moving. And my voltmeter still working. And my temperature gauge is working. So everything's working. We're gonna go drive it around now and take a look. Alright, thanks.